world's on fire. How about yours? Here at Thunderdome Metal Reviews, we are inclusive and happy people, and we are here to talk about a brand new album, our first new album review of the year. I am the Reverend Dangerously. With me, as always, are Gabe, Tracy, and David. Gentlemen, friends, comrades, fellow travelers through this trip called life. How are you doing?
I feel burnt or dead.
Doing good. Doing good.
If the world is exploding, this is a very good place to be.
Say it's not too terribly bad.
High chance of that. So, yep, good place to be.
I love your enthusiasm, Tracy. You managed to pull it together in a way the rest of us can't. It's probably all the death you wade through. I don't know. I guess you just gotta.
No,
He is the epitome of looking on the bright side of life. So.
That's it.
That's especially of us four married gentlemen.
That's fair.
Well, as you can see or not, depending on whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us through wherever you consume your podcasting platforms, we are talking about Flames of Perdition by Solace, released on January 28th of 2022. This was my pick for a new release for this month. Well, or January, since we're actually recording in February. It is their third studio album. It is on the label Noble Demon. The producer was Tuomas Saukkonen. That's a runtime of 48 minutes and 57 seconds. Tuomas Saukkonen did every goddamn thing on this album, including produce it. Vocals, harsh guitars, acoustic guitars, bass, drums, percussion, keyboards. And Mikko Heikkilä did the clean vocals. So this is what I chose.
Why'd you pick this?
I would like to be profound and say that I picked it because I am a fan of Tuomas Saukkonen, because I actually do like a lot of his other 5 or 6 bands that he is either in or out of, depending on what day it is. But honestly, I just needed something that came out in January, and I saw that cover, and I was like, oh, that looks kind of cool. Seems very fitting, so I chose it.
And this is one. I needed an album, and this is one.
Exactly. That is exactly why I chose it.
Oh.
Well, you nailed it. It's an album.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm the only one that has any experience with Solace then?
Well, I only rated 7 of their albums.
You'd be the only one.
yeah. You'd be the only one. How many albums have you just listened to the other 2? I guess
I've only listened to the other one. I've only listened to the one from 2019.
Well, did it come in place?
2020.
Wait, 2020, yeah. I've listened to that one. I'm trying to remember.
So I assume it came in place 1,298 out of 15,000.
I think it came in top 50, actually.
Oh, okay.
I know that one of the guys over at Angry Metal Reviews had the 2020 album as his album of the year. I haven't heard it, so I don't know.
That was just like a year ago?
Me.
Shit, dude. Or I guess a year and change, but
yeah.
It was 39 for me.
Okay. What was that album like? I mean, other than being 39.
Very similar to this one.
That's what I have heard, is because this actually was supposed to have been released last year, but they pushed it back to this year. So a lot of people say that, I don't know, was that Wake or something like that? Was that the name of that? Waves, okay. So a lot of people I've seen have called this Waves Part 2 because they say that the songs are very similar, almost as if they were written in the same writing cycle. So
I wouldn't be surprised, or if it was written very shortly there afterwards. In fact, probably my main complaint about Waves stands for this one, in that after 20 minutes of this album, it all kind of starts to run together, because there's not very much difference. Not much difference from the first track to the last track in this album. Now, if you enjoy this style, you're in for a wonderful time, but it does seem to run together at times.
I do enjoy this style, but I will agree with that. And I think that is something that we have run into as a problem on a lot of these solitary genius kind of albums, where it's one person is responsible for so much of it. So I can definitely see that. I am probably not going to ding it as harshly as Tracy does for that, because I like this style of music a little bit more than him, I think. But, this is, got to give it to Tuomas. Dude is a musical genius, a multi-instrumentalist, because until I realized, I was like, oh, wait, this is a Tuomas Saukkonen thing. I bet he played everything. I wouldn't have known that. So.
For sure. I think, I don't want to make everything about generation, but I think you and I, Ben, got an even more sort of moany Alice in Chains spinoff, like UPO and Drain
Yeah.
and Circle of Dust and Godsmack, if we're being honest. There was just so much of this. So in some ways it was a throwback. And I have more than I'd like to admit albums that are in this exact style. As is so often true in Europe, they maintained a genre, like it just lived on, encased in amber and hatred or whatever is going on in Finland. And I heard this is like,
for all time.
Right, friends. I was like, okay, 1993, that's cool. But you do what you got to do. So I did not know this band at all, obviously, and then just being an asshole.
It's 1993 with 2021 sensibilities.
Whatever that means.
That's the tagline. 21st century sensibilities
But
on Fox.
I mean, I don't want to
Yeah.
ding it, but I'm not going to ding it as harshly as you guys think I will for sounding too same, because I do enjoy this sound and this vibe. This album is just like I'd hear it and I'm like, okay, I think it's getting close to the end. Look at it, I'm like, oh, I still got 2 tracks to go, kind of deal. Not,
That's a ringing endorsement. If that's not a ding,
no,
by
I just
the
look at
end,
it.
I'm dreaming of
That's-
something else.
Tracy posting up on my corner. That's what that is.
I'm sure you'll get that corner back later on tonight.
I think so.
Plenty of F's
Yeah.
left to give. Yeah, please give.
I was just gonna say, this style of music that's this sort of like melancholy, down tempo, mainly clean vocals and only like moderately heavy. It's not something that I normally gravitate toward, nor do I have the sort of 1990s experience that you all have with this kind of genre. What I was reminded of at a couple of points was Pale Horse Named Death, and that says more about me, I think, coming to understand what Ben tends to like than like it says about me understanding this band and what they're doing. So that was something that I sort of was able to recognize in there. It was fine actually to listen to, but I think I had the same issue as Tracy where the stuff started to run together. The parts where it sort of stands out a little bit and maybe departs from other things that are written in a similar style are like the really, really acoustic moments on this album, which weren't necessarily my favorite, but it's like, it's super intimate in a way that most of the metal that we listen to here just isn't, right? You don't get the feeling that you're sitting in a room with the with the musicians listening to, you know what I mean? So I think that's kind of special. Say what you want about like the style or the music.
I can see that. I mean, you're probably praying you're not in the room with Kerry King or
Yeah.
or Cannibal Corpse is like, oh, I want to see the writing process. You don't.
Well, I mean, it's also just like, I don't know, like it's more of a it feels like a more direct communication in
sure.
a way.
Well, I think with the acoustic moments where you're saying it's more direct and kind of like you're in the room with them, I think it also lends to the songwriting itself because the songwriter, let's be real here, the songwriter is a guitarist by trade, and so everything in the mix, it's very heavily guitar focused.
That's accurate.
When you typically listen to Doom, it's got a lot of bass in it. There's not a lot of bass in this album, so you don't have other elements that's typically associated with the slower, doomier sound, like heavier drums, the lower bass, and that's kind of more bass with a little more gravitas to it. That's not in the mix here, so it's very guitar driven, and I think that's what kind of separates this from A Pale Horse Named Death or Paradise Lost, because you just have that one chef in the kitchen fixing working this up.
I actually wanted it to be more like Paradise Lost. There was
Me too. Same.
Yeah, because there were some spots that, I mean, and I like this album, and I agree with Gabe about the intimacy and the acoustic passages. And I like that because it kind of reminds me, whether it is the Alice in Chainsness of it or the throwback to the acoustic interludes on some of those early Black Sabbath albums or, what have you. I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. But then like when it would get into it, this particular blend of Gothic and Doom I enjoy, but I was really wanting it to get crunchy or to use a few more distorted vocals or something. I just really wish that he had shifted gears into something a little faster somewhere.
Because I was going to say I wish it'd been a little faster, but I was going to give you all a minute to recover. But
yeah.
And I multiple times when listening to this record was like, shit, I should listen to Paradise Lost. Like it would be playing, and it had that sound. Absolutely, some of the slower moments when, like, Solace or whatever are happening in Paradise Lost, and that's cool. It invoked something that I like, or at least learned to love by torture when we listen to 100 of their albums. But it made me want to listen to that instead of this one. So yeah, I wish they were a bit more like Paradise Lost, which I would have never said before Thunderdome, but here we are. Thanks, Tracy.
You're welcome, as always. But yeah, I think the big detriment to this album, and I don't want to ding it for us wishing it's something that it's not.
Yeah, totally.
Which
you should have written the book I would have written.
Yeah, exactly. Like I want to avoid that, but it does need a little more, to kind of go back to the culinary aspect of it, a little more that I like to choose from, like meat and potatoes. It needs a little more added to it, maybe a little more zest. Potatoes. It needs, but I do enjoy this more than I do just straight death metal. That's just me, though, as a person.
Because you're a coward.
That sounds like a slap at something that we're going to be talking about later on.
How dare you, sir?
I do kind of respect Tuomas Saukkonen's siloing off his interests so spectacularly, because when we reviewed that Wolfheart album, man, that's ripping and aggressive and heavy as hell. Whereas this is much more like, slow, semi-acoustic gothic doom. And I kind of wish he would let the two aspects bleed over a little bit. And maybe in the 18 other bands that he has, he does that. I don't know. I can't pretend to know all the dude's work. But as the Finnish Zakk Wylde, I guess I have to respect his work ethic and output.
I think he'd happily accept you calling him the Finnish Zakk Wylde.
I mean it as a compliment, because I actually like Zakk Wylde quite a bit.
Oh, I was meaning that as well. I wasn't trying to disparage him over that.
But if it had more bass and heavier drums,
it'd
be more happening. It'd be more. Yeah, I think it would. It does have a little bit of a lightness to it that, as you say, by the time you get to the 10th track, it's that's one of the things. Paradise Lost and Power Slave. I'm just gonna put that in there. Well,
I want to know what album you listen to if you think it has 10 tracks.
Fucking thing.
Oh, the live version. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, there's
I listened to that, and then it's got I don't know. I always listen to whatever I'm given.
Yeah,
by
the last two tracks are totally pointless. But I mean, I think
I deleted them. I'm like, those are live.
I listen. I don't know. They're
on the release, so I mean they are,
and they're not the same songs as above, right? That's one of the things. Like, I don't need to hear fucking Event Horizon also live. So I was like, okay, what else is going on?
Well, let me go ahead and go over to the.
I guess we are doing tracks now. Sorry, yeah. Mine had 10 tracks, and by the end, I was like, "What is that? Why have I been doing this long?"
I went to see if they were on previous albums, and both of them are.
They are.
Yes.
Well, I didn't listen to those albums, so so stop judging me, man. Yeah,
this is standard bonus material, but it's included on the standard edition.
It wasn't like some deluxe
editions anymore.
Yeah, it wasn't like a deluxe thing. I just did the thing. I don't know. I just hit play until it. Actually, I had it on repeat, so I heard it like 3 times. That probably didn't help because it sounded like a 30-track album. It wasn't actually that clear when it was starting and stopping, if that makes sense, in a way that other albums for better, for like a Slipknot album, you absolutely know when it's starting because a minute of random bullshit happens and you're like, okay,
it is some random bullshit.
There's some random, you're like, things that I even say aren't a song, and Gabe's like, it's a song, asshole. I'm like, fine, it's a song. Half the time it's not a song. You're not wrong, Gabe.
Or Jonathan Davis breaking down crying at the end of Korn.
Yeah, there are some signposts, if you will, and some of that music that, we're done now. But so yeah, I guess it was my own fault, but I have to admit, y'all, all 4 of these albums, which I liked all of them okay, or to ranging it from okay to pretty good. None of them were very good for the jam. This was very.
It wasn't okay to pretty good,
dude. All 4 of them, though. I was like, damn it! I'll just listen to this too. It was like all of them. I was slightly annoyed, but it's okay. Which is faster. None of it was. So I listened to it at work, and I'd put it on repeat, and so I would hear this album like 3 times, and then be like, huh. So I don't know. Sorry,
it's good for the body and soul, David.
I mean, I did the homework.
Just get off the treadmill, man. Just
get off.
just,
Join life in a slow speed with no percussion.
Hey, do a rolling machine because it has a nicer, slower pace. So if you imagine doing
actually
slow, you're
probably
doing a
want
rolling
percussion
machine.
for a rolling machine, dude.
we're
There's a
turning
reason
into
they
we're
had
turning into
drummers on those boats.
we're turning into a health podcast, guys.
My
is
fitness
like-
journey brought to you
My fitness
by
journey
Flames
brought
of
to you
Perdition.
by alcohol, specifically whiskey.
That's the safety, everyone. That's. Go ahead.
I can go first on the songs. I like the first 4 tracks a lot, and even if I enjoyed all the tracks on this album, not including the live ones because I didn't listen to them. But I think it starts really well with White Noise. The Race is good. Flames Perdition, Dying Light. I think it kind of starts to fall off though at Black Shores and kind of really starts to run into the sameness on that track and further on.
I'm in almost the same headspace as Tracy. White Noise is okay, but I think it picks up much more with the Race and Flames. And all the way, I think it's about the same place. It's about Black Shore. You're like, okay, it's all right. I mean, I used to listen to Drain. I like Godsmack. But by the time, especially, I guess, sorry, Tracy, I then added 4 more songs on top of that. It was like, okay. And then I would hear it again 3 more times. But I'd say it starts pretty strong and then it just gets a little repetitive. But I don't know. It was I was just gonna say live tracks for a band I don't know are even less I'm not a huge fan of live tracks anyway. And if it's a band I don't know, I was like, but I did my homework, Tracy. Quit riding me, man.
There are literally like 2 live albums that I actually like, and both of those are probably MTV's Unplugged albums.
Sure.
The rest of them, Slayer.
Decade of Aggression.
Yeah, Decade of Aggression is awesome, but that's because I love Slayer. Yeah. So yeah, the 2 live tracks on here didn't add anything. There were songs that I didn't know, and why were they doing them live? So I'm glad to hear that they were on other albums. So I'll go back and listen to them. Yeah. But the tracks proper, I really like. I am going to ding this album for the end of the album, not only because of the live tracks, but Serenity as an instrumental is okay. But if that's what's closing out the album, other than the live tracks, I'd rather have something else.
Me too.
Yeah, none of these tracks really hooked me, to be perfectly honest. And I think it's just not for me, maybe.
You're not for you, Gabe.
Fair enough.
Apparently.
Yeah. All right.
This is what happens when Finland won't pony up like Boston and pay you those sweet checks.
That's right.
Right? Like Finland, like if you want to review,
it's not like I haven't asked.
Give Converge. Yeah. I've solicited Finland. They haven't returned my calls.
They're a little otherwise occupied right now because it's the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, no, they're. Oh, is that what we're going to say is distracting them?
Winter Olympics.
Winter Olympics. War on the Eurasian steppes.
Yeah.
It's great.
I'm going to give this a B. I think it's a good album. I want to come back around to this after we get our grade because I have something new I want us to start doing, which I have not talked to you about. So surprise. But anyway, I think it's a good album.
I think it is a solid album. I'm coming just a little lower because the closer was really sort of meh and it was a wee bit repetitive and just a little more tempo, bass, I mean, again, Tracy and I seem to be very much on the same page here. So B-.
Well, I'm going to deviate a little bit from you, David. I'm going to come in with Ben and give it a B for a good album.
And no surprises here. This is a C+ for me. It's only for hardcore fans, and it would be lower, except that this is perfectly fine background music. I mean, you could definitely wash the dishes to it. You could definitely comb your hair to it.
Actually, yeah, both of those links to it.
I was grading to it. Yeah, no, I hear you, man.
Grading to it is probably okay. You're not gonna. I mean, there's no way I'm gonna like rage quit my grading when I'm listening to this. So that's the plus. A C+, in fact.
A C+. I think B to C+ is a tighter range than the like. Oh, I just kind of like Mastodon A, and then what's his? What was your name? F Holster.
F Holster.
F Holster here just whips it out and just like F. You're like, oh shit. And so it averages out at a B- or whatever. But this is
that's what we average out tonight at a B- 83.
So the new thing that I kind of want to do is, and thankfully we don't live in this place anymore, but if we were stuck in a place where you had to buy your music, would you buy this album?
Nah.
No.
I'm sorry. I mean, there's so many other albums I would buy. I mean, I feel like anything below a B, probably not for me.
Ben, am I made of money? Do you think that I'm made of money? I will not buy this album.
Well, you have the job you currently. It's not like back when like me and David were busting our ass
Yeah.
as
That
dishwashers.
was so
No,
brutal.
I-
Same.
Yeah.
No.
Because then, no, I would not buy this album. But like in my current job, yeah, sure,
I can see that,
would.
but Gabe would have to have some sort of Gruselkabinett sort of cavernous death metal wall or whatever, because he was be buying
That's true.
the CDs.
That's true. Yeah.
Right, if you're going to go as deep as he has on that, like your money's not going to this.
Band
I mean,
Camp
you're also
All-Star
talking.
over there.
I mean, you're also talking to someone who joined and quit and joined and quit and joined and quit BMG like multiple times
Oh,
in my
dude.
life.
Yes.
So I have like, you know, as well as you and David, I've spent a fair amount of money and time
Yeah,
buying music. So
Me and everyone in my household and some other people who were not in my household who may or may not have existed also joined BMG and quit. So
nice.
And we all know I've been very well in detail and depth about my story with BMG and requesting songs at age 13 and my mom saying no.
yes, yes.
That
I mean,
was a
that's
better
fair.
choice.
I was just curious because I mean, I think that this is. I would usually say that depending, like, there are albums that I would give a C+ to, but because I am a hardcore fan of that band, I would go ahead and buy it. But I am kind of with David that where the B range is about where I would cut off. So I was just curious.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Anything below B, probably not. That's kind of when we were reviewing on those albums. I was like, there's so much good music this year. If it's below B, like it's done. Like I ranked it anyway, so Tracy wouldn't shame me just in terms of the length of my ranking. But yeah, if it was less than a B, there just was way too much. We live in a shitty age to be a musician, but a golden age to be a music consumer. So there's an enormous amount. Like I could have never, when washing dishes, even if this shit had been available, I could have bought none more than I was buying, right? Like I was at the max.
Yeah, same.
So what's your surprise?
That was the surprise.
That's the surprise. Would we buy it? Okay, that's a valid question. And sometimes there may be a thing I would buy that was below a B, but probably not.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, now that I'm thinking about that, I'm like, would I buy this? Like now that's another, like when I'm listening to these albums, an abomination this realm or any other. Anyway.
All right, Tracy, what are we doing next time?
And next, we're doing David's pick for the month of January in Infected Rains. I'm not going to try to pronounce. David, you want to try it?
What, Ecdysis, I guess?
Yeah,
Ecdysis.
Ecdysis, I don't know. Whatever.
Ecdysis. Yeah, we're not escaping the Eurasian steppes, though. We're going to Moldova. So I'm excited because it's a band I knew. Like Ben, well, actually, no, I was ahead of you, Ben. I'm like, I know this band and I've heard some of their music. Heard a couple of their albums. So and I know y'all were shocked it's not death metal. It's not death metal. That's not what it is. But we'll talk all about it next time on Thunderdome Metal Reviews.
Indeed.